Why did a devoted Muslim mother of 3 start sleepwalking to the abandoned well behind her house every night at 3 a.m.? What did the shadow whisper to her in a language she didn't know she understood? This story is so chilling and spiritually profound that it will shake you to your core. But before we continue, please check if you're subscribed to the channel and write in the comments which country you're watching from. Her name was Amina Rahman. She was 32 years old, married to Tariq, a kind engineer who provided well for their family. They had 3 beautiful children, Hassan, 9, Zara, 6, and little Yusuf, just 3. Amina was known in their London neighborhood as the woman who never missed Fajr, who organized Quran study circles, who baked cookies for every Eid celebration. But everything changed 6 months ago, when they moved into the new house. It was a beautiful Victorian home with a large garden and, unusually, an ancient stone well in the back corner. The real estate agent had mentioned it casually. Original feature from the 1800s. Adds character, doesn't it? Tariq loved the house immediately. The price was surprisingly low, and he saw it as Allah's provision. Amina felt something else, a cold sensation when she first saw the well, like invisible fingers brushing against her neck. But she dismissed it as nerves. "It's perfect, Habibti," Tariq said. "This is our dream home." The first month was normal, but then the dreams started. Amina would dream of standing by the well in moonlight. She would wake with dirt under her fingernails and grass stains on her nightgown. "Did I go outside last night?" she asked Tariq one morning. He frowned. "Maybe you were gardening and forgot. You've been tired lately." But Amina knew. Something was calling her to that well. The children noticed changes too. Hassan had nightmares about a tall man made of smoke. Zara drew disturbing pictures at school. Little Yusuf would cry whenever Amina went into the garden. Every night at exactly 3 a.m., the hour when the veil between worlds is thinnest, Amina would rise from her bed. Her eyes would be open but unseeing. Her feet would carry her to the well, where she would stand listening to a voice that spoke to her soul, a voice that said her name like a prayer, a voice that promised her things no husband could offer. What Amina didn't know was that the previous owner had fled in terror, that 3 families before them had lasted less than a year, that the well was inhabited, and the being within it had been waiting, watching, choosing, and he had chosen her. The first time Amina heard the voice clearly, she was awake. It was a Thursday afternoon. She was hanging laundry in the garden, reciting Surah Al-Mulk, as she always did during chores. "Amina," she froze. The voice had been so clear, so intimate, as if someone had spoken directly into her ear, but the garden was empty. "You're being ridiculous," she muttered. "Too much coffee, not enough sleep." "Amina." This time it was louder, unmistakable, coming from the well. Her heart began to pound. Every instinct screamed at her to run inside, but something made her take one step toward the well, then another. The moment her fingers touched the cold stone, images flooded her mind. A woman in Victorian dress screaming, men in turbans performing rituals, a creature of smoke and shadow bound by ancient words, trapped beneath water and stone. And then she saw him. Tall, impossibly beautiful, with eyes that held centuries of loneliness and hunger. A Djinn, an Ifrit imprisoned in this well 200 years ago for the crime of loving a human woman too much. He had killed her rather than let her grow old without him. And for that, he had been bound to this place. Until Amina. "I have waited so long," the voice said, and this time she could feel breath against her neck. "You feel it too, don't you? The emptiness. The sense that something is missing, even when you have everything." Amina's eyes filled with tears because, Allah forgive her, he was right. She had felt it for years, the nagging sense that her perfect life was a performance, that beneath her smile lay a screaming void she couldn't name. "Who are you?" she whispered. "I am Zaran," the voice replied, "and I have loved you since the moment you crossed my threshold." That night Amina said nothing to Tariq. She lay in the darkness knowing that everything had changed. The courtship had begun. The signs started small. Gifts appeared. A white rose in winter, a silk scarf on her dresser. Most disturbing was the antique silver bangle that appeared on her wrist one morning, engraved with shifting Arabic calligraphy. "Where did you get that?" Tariq asked. I don't remember," Amina said honestly. Yet there it was, warm against her skin. Her reflection began to change. Sometimes she would catch another face behind her own, older, male, with eyes that burned with intensity. The children's behavior grew concerning. Hassan had nightmares. Zara drew pictures of their mother surrounded by dark clouds with arms. Little Yusuf told Tariq, "The dark man says Mama is busy." Tariq couldn't ignore the changes in his wife. Amina seemed distracted, distant, as if part of her existed somewhere else. Most troubling, she would speak in her sleep in a language that wasn't quite Arabic, something older, more primal. "Amina, I'm worried," he said one morning. "I think we should see a doctor." "I'm fine," she said, pulling away sharply. Then softer, "Maybe I should see someone." But she never made the appointment, because deep down, Amina knew no doctor could diagnose what was happening. She was being courted by something outside the rules of the physical world, and part of her, the part she was most ashamed of, didn't want it to stop, because for the first time in years, she felt truly seen, truly desired, truly alive. At night, Zahran would speak to her of things no mortal man could know. He recited poetry in ancient languages, told her she was the reincarnation of the woman he had loved and lost. "You are not meant for this small life," he would whisper. "You are meant for eternity, for passion that transcends flesh, for love that outlasts death." And Amina would listen and believe. The threads of her ordinary life were unraveling, and she was letting them. Everything changed when Tariq's mother came to visit. Hajja Khadija was a woman of deep faith who had made pilgrimage 3 times. She was also sensitive to things others couldn't see. The moment she stepped into the house, she stopped. Her face went pale. "Tariq," she said quietly, "how long have you lived here?" "6 months, Ummi. Why?" She walked through each room until she saw the well through the window. Her reaction was immediate. She gasped and stepped backward. "That well! Ya Allah, you have brought your family to live with a captive jinn." The room fell silent. Amina felt her heart stop. "Ummi, you can't be serious," Tariq said. "A jinn? Then explain why your wife wears a bangle inscribed with binding words in pre-Islamic script." She turned to Amina. "Child, let me see your arm." Amina extended her arm as if compelled. Hajja Khadija examined the bangle, tears in her eyes. "This is a claim mark. A jinn has marked you as his intended." "How long has this been happening?" The confession poured out of Amina like water from a broken dam. She told them everything, the dreams, the voice, the gifts, the terrible truth that part of her wanted this connection. Tariq looked at his wife as if seeing a stranger. "How could you not tell me? I thought I was going crazy," she sobbed. "And then, I didn't want it to stop. Ya Allah, forgive me, I didn't want it to stop." Hajja Khadija moved quickly. "We need to see Imam Yusuf immediately, before sunset, before the jinn's power strengthens." Imam Yusuf was a man in his 60s with kind eyes, but when he heard the situation, his expression turned grave. "Remove the bangle," he instructed. Amina tried. Her fingers pulled and twisted, but it wouldn't budge. The more she struggled, the tighter it became. "It won't come off," she whispered. "Why?" "Because you accepted it," Imam Yusuf said. "Perhaps not consciously, but your soul acknowledged the gift. And in the world of jinn, acceptance of a courting gift is tantamount to agreeing to a spiritual marriage contract." Amina felt the room spin. "No, I never agreed to anything. I'm married. I have children." The jinn don't see it that way. To them, human marriages are temporary. Spiritual bonds are eternal. He retrieved an old journal from his bookshelf. In 1823, a Muslim scholar was called to deal with a jinn who had become obsessed with a human woman. When she chose her human life over him, the jinn killed her in a rage, then wept over her body for 3 days. The scholar bound him to a well, condemning him to remain there until he could learn to release his obsession. He looked up. Nearly 200 years have passed, and he has not learned. He has only waited. And Sister Amina, I fear he believes your soul is hers returned. "So what do we do?" Tariq demanded. "There is a way, but it will require Sister Amina to reject him. Completely, absolutely, and it will be the hardest thing she has ever done." He turned to Amina. "Sister, I need you to answer truthfully. Part of you wants this connection, doesn't it?" Amina closed her eyes, shame burning through her, but she nodded. "Yes, and I hate myself for it." Then that is where the battle truly lies. That night they stayed at Imam Yusuf's house, protected by prayers and Quranic verses. But protection has limits when the soul has already opened a door. At exactly 3 a.m., Amina's eyes opened. She sat up with mechanical precision. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that no human throat should produce. "She cannot hear you, old woman. She is with me now." Hajja Khadija's blood ran cold. "In the name of Allah, release her." "No right?" The laugh was bitter and ancient. "I have 200 years of right. I have earned her through suffering. She is mine." Imam Yusuf and Tariq burst into the room. The entity wearing Amina's face turned to Tariq with pity. "You never saw her, did you? You loved the perfect Muslim wife. But did you ever see her loneliness? Did you notice when her smiles became performances?" Tariq flinched, because there was truth in those words. "Zahran Ifrit of fire," Imam Yusuf said calmly. "I know your story, but this is not her. This is not Maryam." At that name, Amina's body stiffened. "She is Maryam's soul," Zahran said desperately. "I have waited 2 centuries. Allah has sent her back to me." "Because you want to believe it," Imam Yusuf said gently. "Your love has become obsession. This is Amina bint Abdullah, servant of Allah. She is not your redemption. She is a soul you are destroying." "You know nothing of loss," the voice erupted, windows rattling. "I held her as she died. I couldn't bear it. I couldn't watch her decay. So I ended it while she was still beautiful, still mine. And they punished me." The confession hung in the air. This Djinn hadn't just loved. He had murdered. "You murdered the woman you loved because you loved yourself more," Imam Yusuf said quietly. "And now you want to do the same to Amina." Silence. Complex emotions flickered across Amina's face. Then Zahran spoke again, his voice smaller, broken. "I just don't want to be alone anymore. Do you know what it's like? To feel eternity stretching ahead of you, empty and cold?" Despite everything, Hajja Khadija felt compassion for this tormented being. But compassion couldn't override truth. "Then let her go," she said firmly. "If you truly care for her, let her go. Don't repeat the sin that imprisoned you." The presence retreated. Amina's body collapsed, and Tariq caught her. "We need to act now," Imam Yusuf said urgently. "We need to perform a separation ritual, but it requires Amina's full consent." "Then we'll do it," Tariq said. "You don't understand. The bond is inside her now. To sever it will feel like ripping out a piece of her soul. Many fail, and if she chooses him at any point, she will be lost to us completely." Amina's eyes fluttered open, completely her own for the first time in weeks. "I heard everything," she whispered. "Tariq, I'm so sorry. We're going to fix this." But Amina shook her head. "He's right about some things. I have been lonely. I have felt invisible. Part of me wanted it. Part of me still wants it. How do I fight something that's giving me what I didn't even know I needed?" Hajja Khadija knelt beside her. "What you're feeling is real. But the solution he offers is poison wrapped in honey. He doesn't want to fulfill you. He wants to consume you. Real love doesn't trap." "But I'm so tired," Amina sobbed. "I'm tired of being perfect. At least with him I don't have to pretend." Tariq pulled back, wounded. "Is that how you feel with me? Like you're pretending?" Amina had to be honest. "Sometimes. Not because you're bad to me, but you love the version I show you. The patient mother, the devout wife, the woman who has no darkness. I've been so afraid that if you saw the real me, you wouldn't love me anymore." Silence. This was the wound beneath the wound. "Then I have failed you," Tariq said, voice thick with emotion. "No, I failed myself," Amina said. "I built a cage and called it piety, and Zahran offered me a different cage that felt like freedom." Imam Yusuf cleared his throat. "This awareness is what we need. Sister Amina, will you fight for actual freedom, even if it means facing your loneliness without fantasy, even if it means rebuilding with no magical solutions?" Amina looked at her children's photographs, then at Tariq, crying openly now. "I'll do it," she said. "I'll fight him. I'll fight myself, whatever it takes." But in her consciousness, she heard Zahran's voice. "If you reject me, Amina, I will make you regret it. And when you're drowning in loneliness, you will call for me, and I will not answer." They returned to the house before dawn. Imam Yusuf had brought 5 other Islamic scholars who specialized in spiritual warfare. They formed a circle around the well, each holding Quranic verses. Amina stood at the center with the silver bangle still on her wrist. The sky was lightening. "We will recite verses that weaken the bond," Imam Yusuf said. "But only you can break it. It will feel like dying, Amina. He will show you visions. He will promise anything." "I understand." They prayed Fajr together. Then the scholars began reciting Surah al-Jinn, Ayat al-Kursi. The words wove into a barrier of sacred sound. The effect was immediate. Amina screamed as invisible fire raced through her veins. The bangle glowed red-hot, burning her skin. "Keep reciting," Imam Yusuf commanded. Now they could all see him. Zahran materialized above the well, a towering figure of smoke and flame, beautiful and terrible. "You are mine," he said, voice shaking the ground. 200 years I have waited. You will not reject me." The pain intensified beyond description. "I can't," Amina gasped, falling to her knees. "Yes, you can." Tariq knelt beside her. "Remember who you are." But Zahran's voice was louder. "Remember how I made you feel alive. Remember that I chose you." The bangle burned hotter. Her skin was blistering. "The bangle is the anchor," Imam Yusuf shouted. "You must reject the gift." Suddenly Amina was in a vision, standing in a palace of smoke and starlight. Zahran stood before her, heartbreakingly beautiful. "Stay with me," he pleaded. "I will worship you. I will never let you feel forgotten. Just stay, please." And for one terrible moment Amina almost said yes. But then she heard it. Faint, distant. Yusuf crying. Her baby boy, crying for his mama. That sound cut through the illusion. "No," Amina whispered. The palace flickered. "No, I am not yours. I am Amina bint Abdullah, wife of Tariq, mother of Hassan and Zara and Yusuf. I am a servant of Allah, and I reject this bond." She grabbed the bangle and pulled with all her will. "I do not accept this gift. I reject every tie not sanctioned by Allah's law. I am free." The bangle shattered. The silver exploded into dust. Amina's wrist was burned badly, but the metal was gone. Zahran's scream of rage shook the entire property. Windows cracked, the well's cover split. "You will regret this," his voice roared. "You will grow old and lonely and forgotten." His form dissipated, the ritual forcing him back. But his eyes remained fixed on Amina. "I loved you," he whispered, and then he was gone. Amina collapsed into Tariq's arms, sobbing, not from relief, but from grief. Part of her mourned what she had lost. "I know," Tariq whispered. "I know it hurts. But you're free now. We'll heal together." The sun was fully risen. A new day, a new beginning. The weeks following were harder than Amina anticipated. She had won the battle, but winning felt nothing like she'd expected. The physical wounds healed slowly, leaving scars. But the emotional wounds ran deeper. Amina fell into a depression. She would sit for hours staring at nothing. She held her children but felt distant, as if watching her life from behind glass. "This is normal," Imam Yusuf said. "She's grieving. Not for Zahran, but for the fantasy he represented. Now she has to face that pain without any fantasy to numb it." Hajja Khadija spoke truth. "That hollowness you feel, it was always there. He didn't create your loneliness. He just exploited it. Now you can heal properly." Slowly Amina began to do the work. She started seeing a therapist. She joined a support group where sisters shared their struggles. She learned words for things she'd never had language for. Emotional neglect, spiritual abuse, the way trauma can make dangerous things feel safe. Most painfully, she learned to sit with discomfort without seeking escape. She learned she could survive her own emotions. Her relationship with Tariq changed too. They started couples counseling, excavating years of unspoken resentments. "I put you on a pedestal," Tariq admitted. "I loved the idea of you more than the real you. And I let you," Amina responded. "I performed perfection because I was terrified. So we both created a lie and we called it a marriage. It was brutal honesty. But it was the foundation of something more real. They learned to have difficult conversations, to understand that love isn't about being completed by another person. It's about two whole people choosing each other, broken parts and all." 6 months after the ritual, Amina stood in the garden watching her children play. The well was gone, filled in, planted with roses. She no longer felt Zahran's presence. In that silence, she could hear her own voice, her own thoughts. She wasn't happy, not yet, but she was becoming more honest, more whole, more human. Tariq sat beside her. They sat in comfortable silence. "Do you regret it?" he asked. "Choosing this ordinary life?" "Sometimes," she admitted. "When the loneliness comes back, part of me remembers how intense everything felt. But then I remember it wasn't real. It was just my unmet needs wearing a supernatural mask." She watched her children laugh. "This is harder. This ordinary life is so much harder than the fantasy. But it's real. And I'd rather have real difficulty than beautiful lies." Tariq kissed her scarred hand. "I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you don't feel invisible." "Just see me," Amina said. "That's all I ever wanted." The scars would never completely fade, but they told a story of a woman who fought for her soul and won, who chose painful freedom over beautiful captivity, who learned that real love doesn't possess, it liberates. Years passed. Life developed a rhythm that was less dramatic, but infinitely more stable. Amina became an advocate for mental health awareness in the Muslim community. She started a support group called Scarred But Sacred. "I thought I was the only one," one sister said, tears streaming. "I thought good Muslim women weren't supposed to feel depressed." "That's what makes us vulnerable," Amina replied gently. "When we can't admit our struggles, we become targets. Shame is a door through which darkness enters." Her relationship with Tariq continued to deepen. They were different now, less polished, more authentic. "I love you more now," Tariq said one night. "The real you with all your complications. She's so much more interesting." Sometimes, on quiet nights, Amina would wake at 3 a.m. and feel a distant presence. She never responded. She would recite Ayat al-Kursi, pull Tariq closer, and remind herself of her choice. One day, Imam Yusuf asked if she'd speak to another woman, Nadia, who was experiencing strange phenomena with an old well. "I don't know if I'm going crazy," Nadia whispered. "It's really happening," Amina said gently. "And you have a choice. Right now, you still have the power to choose freedom. It will hurt. But if you wait too long, choosing becomes harder." "But he makes me feel special." "I know, but Nadia, that feeling is bait. Beneath it is a trap that will cost you everything. Don't trade your soul for the feeling of being special." "You survived it," Nadia whispered. "Maybe I can too." "You can. And you won't be alone." Driving home, Amina realized something profound. Her suffering had become purposeful. The scars she bore were badges of survival. She prayed for Zahran occasionally, prayers of release, that he might let go of his obsession, find peace in accepting loss. Because she understood now that his love had never been about her. It had been about his refusal to accept impermanence. Real love, she learned, doesn't try to freeze moments in eternity. Real love accepts change, embraces endings, finds beauty in temporary things. Her marriage wasn't perfect, her life wasn't without struggle, but she was free, genuinely, painfully, beautifully free. And freedom was worth every scar. 3 years after that night, Amina spoke at a women's conference about spiritual wellness. How many of you have ever felt invisible in your own life? Felt like you were performing righteousness instead of living it? Nearly every hand went up. That vulnerability is the door through which darkness enters. Not because we're weak, but because we're human. She shared her story. Enough. The loneliness, the manipulation, the brutal fight for freedom. What I learned is that nothing, not even love, should ever cost you your freedom. Real love liberates you. It makes you more yourself, not less. She showed her scarred wrist. "These marks remind me, I fought for my soul and won. Every day, I choose freedom again. Every day, I choose honesty over performance. Every day, I choose the difficult reality over the beautiful lie." After the talk, women surrounded her, crying, sharing their own stories, needing to know they weren't alone. One elderly woman approached. "You met a Djinn, didn't you?" Amina nodded. The woman smiled sadly. "I did too, 60 years ago. They can only take what we give them. Thank you for warning these young ones." At home, Tariq was helping with homework while the children played. Normal life? Ordinary chaos? Beautiful, mundane reality? How was the talk? Tariq asked. Hard, but necessary. He kissed her forehead. Turning your pain into purpose. That's real strength. That night, Amina performed Aisha prayer with complete presence. No performance, no pretense. Just a broken woman offering her genuine self, scars and all. And in that honesty, she found what she'd been searching for. Peace. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of genuine connection. Not perfection, but acceptance. Not escape from reality, but deep engagement with it. The Djinn had promised her eternity, but she'd found something far more valuable. A single, honest, fully lived human moment. And she chose it. Every day she chose it. If this story resonated with you, I need to share something important. I may need to close this channel. I love bringing these stories to you, exploring faith, the supernatural and human struggles. But to continue, I need to become a YouTube partner, and for that I need 1,000 subscribers. So I'm asking from my heart, if these stories matter to you, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. These stories aren't just entertainment, they're warnings, lessons, and reminders that we're all fighting battles no one else can see. The woman in this story was real. The Djinn was real. The struggle between captivity and freedom is real. And somewhere, right now, someone else is facing the same choice Amina faced. Will they choose the beautiful lie or the difficult truth? Will they trade their soul for feeling special? Or will they fight for freedom even when freedom is painful? That choice is always before us, every day, in every relationship, in every moment of vulnerability. Choose wisely. Choose freedom. Choose truth, even when it costs everything. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you all.